General Hospital, Brit's twin revealed and Rocco's paternity shocker on GH? General Hospital sees Brit Westbourne's Kelly Thibault name dropping recently and lots of questions about Rocco Falconeri's Finn Carr origin story bubbling up, and that could mean twists afoot since we know Kelly Thibault is back in July. Kelly Thibault's GH return, will Brit West be resurrected or recast? Alright, with just a few weeks before Kelly Thibault's return to GH, there's still the lingering question of who she's going to play. Is General Hospital going to find a way to bring Brit back from the dead? Even if they undid her death by Heather Weber's Allie Mills hook stabbing and the poison on the hook, there's still the fact her character had Huntington's disease, which is incurable. The writers would have to say Brit was misdiagnosed or something, because to invent a fictional cure to a real-life dire illness would be tacky and probably wouldn't fly with fans. Or maybe they're going to bring in Kelly Thibault to play a recast of an existing character. However, that seems like a long shot because Brit's name is coming up again and her photo, and Brooklyn Quartermain, Amanda Seton, is looking into Brit's tangled past with Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens-Bruning. So, with BLQ looking for a way to get vengeance on Lulu for what she did, ruining her son Joe's life, this Brit thing is obviously important. So now I'm honestly wondering if they are going to try and bring back Brit with some wonky rewrite of her death, or maybe we're going to get a Brit Westbourne twin twist. I mean, let's face it, GH loves to do twins. General Hospital's history of twins, could Brit West have a secret sibling? We've had so many instances where an evil twin or a doppelganger popped up out of nowhere. You know, often there's a good twin and an evil twin. We have had the Rivera brothers. We have had the Alcazar brothers, the Ruiz brothers. Those were minor. And then we've had some bigger ones. You know, kindly Kevin Collins, John Lindstrom, and his evil twin serial killer Ryan Chamberlain, also John Lindstrom. Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, and wicked Alex Devane, also Finola Hughes, were twinsies. And of course, crazy wicked Nell Hayes, Chloe Lanier, and weak-minded but sweet at heart Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen. And then there's Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, and Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson. General Hospital, evil twins multiply. You know, for a while, Jason seemed like the more wicked one as a mob enforcer and hitman. But ever since his prison stint, Drew has turned out to be the evil twin everybody hates. And then of course, Luke Spencer, Anthony Geary, had that doppelganger. Bill Hurt looked just like him, plus his wicked other, you know, side personalities when he did. So yeah, General Hospital loves good and evil twins, secret twins, twins we'd never heard of. So, they could give Brit a twin to bring Kelly Thibault back, and maybe it's a twin who has info about this Rocco thing. It's totally doable because we met Brit as a fully formed adult and there's not a ton of details about her origin story. There's been passing mentions of her upbringing. Of course, she knew her mom, Lissel Albrecht, Kathleen Gotti, and her father, Caesar Faison Anders Hove. So, it wasn't like she didn't know her parents or anything. And then, of course, Brit had a brother, Nathan West Ryan Pavey, that was raised by her aunt, Madeline Reeves, Donna Mills, another psycho, because Lissel didn't want Nathan subjected to crazy Faison's awfulness. But Brit knew him even if they weren't raised as siblings or anything, you know? So, who's to say Liesel didn't have twins and raised the other apart from Brit? Possibly apart from Faison. There's lots of options. Brit Westbourne's potential evil twin, exploring Lissel Albrecht and Caesar Faison's secrets. I do remember quite distinctly how much Lissel Albrecht loved Caesar Faison like obsessively. But he had that long-running fixation on Anna and that drove Dr. O crazy. So you know, Lissel could have had twin girls and hid one from Faison, or they might have split them. Anything is possible with Lissel and Faison. Maybe he forced Lissel to give him one of the twins and they each raised one. Brit knew the twin or didn't know the twin. Lots of options. It'd be awesome if Brit has a twin that was even more wicked than she was at her worst point. I mean, the Britchk was a villainess in her own right, especially when she first came on the scene on General Hospital, but she wasn't like pure malevolent evil like Faison wanted her to be. You know, Brit never pleased her father in that way. And then, of course, he died after killing his son Nathan. Just a horrible monster. And by the time Brit herself died, she was pretty much a good guy. You know, she had stopped the scheming and all the devious ways. So, I think it would be wildly fun if Brit's awful twin turned up and freaked out everybody in Port Charles. Rocco's paternity twist: will Brooklyn uncover Brit's secret connection? So, with Brooklyn and Marco Rios, Adrian and Chando researching Brit, they may find out she's got a twin we didn't know about. That could lead to another bombshell about Rocco because he's got a backstory that's all twisted up with Brit that he probably doesn't even know about. I mean, why would anyone tell Rocco the bizarre story of his birth? And is there a chance that will change around with Kelly Thibault coming back? We all know Brooklyn hired attorney Marco to do some research on Brit. So, he dug in and Marco came over to report to Brooklyn, but he's also curious why she's looking into Brit since she is a dead woman. And Brooklyn told Marco she is going to prove that Lulu is not half the mother she says she is. And then Brooklyn told Marco about how Brit was desperate to have a baby with her then boyfriend Patrick Drake, Billy Thompson, and turned up pregnant. General Hospital, DNA drama. Patrick wasn't the dad and Brad Cooper was, and then later Nicholas Cassadine, then Tyler Christopher, got pulled into it. Brit gave birth to a son she named Ben on the floor at Windermere, and Elizabeth Weber, Rebecca Herbst, had some suspicion. She ran a DNA test on the baby at General Hospital and it tested as a match for Dante, Falconer, Dominic Zamprogna, which caused a bunch of confusion. And it ultimately came out Brit had stolen an embryo that Lulu and Dante had in storage and none of her other embryos were viable after that. That's why they just have the one kid. However, GH could either undo the DNA test that Liz did or pretend it never happened. I mean, we have seen GH ignore history and undo history way too many times, some of them pretty recently. So, maybe they're going to change it up and have Rocco really be Brit's child with somebody. And Rocco's not Dante and Lulu's kid after all. That'd be wild. It would be some big karmic backlash on Lulu if Rocco turned out not to be hers and Brooklyn is the only one who's given birth to Dante's biological child. And of course, when Brooklyn unpacked the bizarre story about Rocco and Brit, we saw Marco was just like, what? He was totally blown away. And now BLQ wants to get her hands on Rocco's original birth certificate to see what it says. So the Ben birth certificate, I guess. And when Marco was asking for more info, Brooklyn said that she's paying him to get her what she wants and then she'll choose what she does with what he finds out. GH's twists and turns: could Rocco be Emma's half-sibling? So GH could twist it that the embryo that Brit stole from Lulu Spencer and Dante didn't take and she was actually pregnant by Patrick. Kind of like when Maxie Jones, Kirsten Storms, was a surrogate but then turned up pregnant by Damian Spinelli, Bradford Anderson, for Lulu. So, and they mentioned that the other day as well. So that's just why that's on my mind. But if for some reason Brit actually did get pregnant by Patrick, that would make Emma and Rocco half-siblings, which would be really wild. If they somehow undo Rocco's paternity, it would crush Lulu. So we'll see what BLQ and Marco find out. If Rocco really is Brit's child, I'm quite certain Brooklyn would rub it in Lulu's face and make sure that Dante knew. Because as Lulu herself said, Dante deserves to know the truth about his son. Of course, exposing it would devastate Rocco. And if this is where the story is going and Brit's gone, it would parallel Gio having a dead mom. I'm guessing BLQ would tell Dante and Lulu in private and not have it come out publicly. That would be absolutely explosive and extremely soapy. It'd be interesting. And if Kelly Thibault is playing Brit somehow miraculously not dead or a twin of hers that might have some information about what went on with Brit, that would be interesting. With her name coming up so much, it seems like she's definitely got to be Brit or at least Brit adjacent. Willow and Drew's wedding crashes, murder mystery and stolen baby shock. General Hospital sees that summer is about to be sizzling in Port Charles, and there are 3 huge front-burner storylines that we're expecting to deliver some huge shockers. There's the upcoming wedding of Willow Tate, Caitlin McMullen, and Drew Kane Quartermain, Cameron Matheson, if she does say yes. Plus, there's a baby that could be snatched soon and questions about whether somebody's big mouth is going to get them murdered. We're going to talk about 3 possible shockers that could be coming for these plots. General Hospital spoilers: Baby Daisy kidnapping plot, who's the stalker? Alright, so the top plot we have got to talk about is who is stalking Sasha Gilmore, Sophia Matson, and Michael Corinthos, Rory Gibson, new baby girl, little Daisy Gilmore. I'm saying Gilmore because I don't think they've said her last name will be that or Scorpio. I mean, I can't think it would be Corinthos since Sasha doesn't want Michael's name on the birth certificate. At any rate, baby Daisy. So, somebody scared Sasha when they pulled a baby swap stunt at General Hospital and sent her somebody else's newborn. Lucas Jones Van Hansis figured out what happened, but not who did it or why. Sasha, of course, freaked out when she was like, "That's not my baby." She knew right away. Give her full props for that. Unfortunately, after Lucas and Felicia Scorpio, Christina Wagner explained things, Sasha chilled out. She thought it was just some kind of random little tiny mistake. General Hospital, who would steal Sasha's baby? So, now she's at home with little Daisy at the queues and just told Michael she's going to raise their girl on her own. But realistically, Sasha should be worried, very worried, because somebody is stalking her little baby girl. And all of this might be foreshadowing, and I'm just left wondering if the little mix-up at GH was part of a plan to steal the baby, only they didn't have time to run off with Sasha's newborn before the swap was discovered, or maybe they were testing to see if Sasha would notice, maybe trying to scare her. So, if somebody steals the kid, the question is, who is going to do it? Who's the stalker? My first thought is the kidnapper could be Sasha's con artist, Mama, Holly Sutton, Emma Sams. Maybe she wanted to steal her granddaughter to get her away from the Corinthos and the Quartermain families. Maybe it's even Robert Scorpio, Tristan Rogers, and Holly, Emma Sams working together. Robert Tristan Rogers is no fan of Sonny Corinthos, Maurice Benard. Maybe he's horrified his daughter had a Corinthos spawn. You know, maybe the grandparents were planning to take the baby, then call and tell Sasha come meet them for a family reunion to get her away from Port Charles and those bad influences on their grandchild. General Hospital, is Sidwell at it again? Then again, it could be Jen Sidwell, Carlo Rhoda, because if you remember, he was eavesdropping and found out Sasha, Sophia Matson, was pregnant quite a while ago, like really early in her pregnancy, and then nothing was ever mentioned about it. But he has held her hostage before. He almost blew her up? He has that grudge against Holly and he's got issues with Sonny. So maybe Sidwell wants to use that baby as part of his leverage scheme. This might be part of his plan to undermine Sonny by targeting his family. We found out this week the judge had been bribed to give full custody to Michael and Sidwell was the one that paid off the judge. And then Michael said in a scene right after that little reveal how great it was to have all three of his kids under the same roof. Okay, Sidwell set up that situation and you have to wonder why. So maybe little Daisy is not the only target. We could see Sidwell's henchmen snatching Wiley, Daisy, and Amelia and using them to force Sonny's hand to sell Sidwell the peers. Now, of course, we don't want Sasha's baby to be kidnapped, but it sure seems headed in that direction and headed in that direction very soon. Willow and Drew's wedding drama, will a prostitute crash the ceremony? So, another huge thing coming this summer is probably going to be a wedding for Willow and her town pariah boyfriend, Drew. Now, right at the moment, Willow is considering Drew's proposal. She announces her decision as this week ends. Right now, as of when I'm taping this, she hasn't said whether she'll marry him or not. I'm betting Willow is going to say yes, but we'll see. Assuming Drew gets a yes, even if she says no initially, I don't think he's going to take no for an answer. So, I think ultimately the answer is going to be yes. And he talked about a quickie wedding. And he's already got the engagement ring. It's that cute family heirloom, the same one Michael put on Willow's finger so she can just recycle it when she swaps husbands. And Drew also mentioned they need to get married soon so they can fight for custody. General Hospital, Curtis Ashford is hot on the trail. Meanwhile, Curtis Ashford, Donnell Turner, is hot on the trail of hooker Jacinda to bring her back to town to say that Drew willingly took the ketamine and is just a hard partying pervert. So these two things could be on a collision course. Matrimony and just mass lies. So, private investigator Felicia Scorpio, Christina Wagner, is on the case searching for the missing prostitute. So, Curtis could be the one to bring Jacinda back with an assist from Felicia. And Michael would love to ruin Willow's wedding because nobody wants her around creepy crazy eyes Uncle Drew. So, will Curtis set it up so Jacinda the prostitute crashes Drew and Willow's wedding? Since Drew is a congressman, there could be reporters lurking outside the chapel and Jacinda spilling all that tea even though she'd be lying would absolutely ruin Willow's wedding. I will say Drew might still be able to convince Willow that he was set up, but Jacinda's statement would still ruin their wedding and his reputation, even if Willow sticks with Drew. So, blowing up that wedding is a super soapy way to make things get really exciting. It'd be a great summer shocker. General Hospital, will Sidwell murder Natalia to frame Sonny? Now last, but definitely not least, is murder. Let's talk about murder. Sidwell may do a bad thing to his ex-wife Natalia Rogers Ramirez, Eva LaRue. She could be collateral damage in the Sidwell vs. Sonny battle. After that recent scene with Sidwell and Sonny, it's quite clear Sidwell will stop at nothing to get Sonny out of his way. Sidwell tried again to get Sonny to sell him the peers. And then when they had some back and forth, then Sidwell just got brutally honest and transparent about his plans and pretty much threatening. It was a very kind of villain monologue. He told Sonny to step down like a gentleman and let him rid Port Charles of, the violence of the drug scene down there and the mob scene, whatever. And then Sidwell promised he won't stop until Sonny's gone. General Hospital, Natalia's in trouble. Meanwhile, we've got Natalia in trouble for that DUI. And the DA wants her to give evidence on Sonny. So, I am fully expecting Marco Rios, Adrian Anchondo, to tell his dad Sidwell about this, especially after Marco and Lucas's talk about his parents and his mom Natalia's recent arrest. Sonny basically told Sidwell, take your money and shove it. So, Sidwell may come up with a harsher plan to get Sonny out of the way permanently. Plus, remember, Sidwell is no fan of his ex-wife, Natalia. Sidwell said she ripped their family apart. And the vibe I got was cheating. But apparently Natalia's had ongoing DUIs and addiction issues. So, it could be a combo of both the drinking and the cheating ruined their marriage. I'm personally team Sidwell on that issue. Sidwell also doesn't like how Natalia treated their son Marco when he came out. So, my question is whether Sidwell decides to do a two birds, one stone thing and deal with Natalia and Sonny all at once. Right now, if Natalia gave up evidence on Sonny, he could still get away with it in court, or get a year or so behind Pentonville bars. That would help Sidwell a little. But a murder charge would send Sonny to prison for life. So is Natalia about to die? General Hospital, Marco worries about Natalia. Now, Marco was already worried about Natalia's safety after the DA was pushing her to take a deal, but Natalia insisted Sonny wouldn't hurt her, and she even warned him about DA Turner. But Marco's got that in his mind now. So would Sidwell kill Natalia and frame Sonny? I mean, it would clear Sidwell's way completely and he's got a judge on his payroll already. So, he could make sure Sonny's trial went the way he wanted and he gets a life sentence out of the judge. Clearly, Sidwell has no problems killing women because he didn't hesitate about plotting to blow up Sasha, have Anna Devane, Finola Hughes shot and take down Holly too. And as I said, Sidwell doesn't like his ex-wife Natalia, so why not? And it would solve his Sonny problem. Plus, since Marco and the DA both know Natalia was offered a deal to testify against Sonny, he would be the first suspect if Natalia turned up dead. Plus, I mean, Port Charles really doesn't need that woman. Let's be real. She was already horrible. And now she's got a DUI? I'm okay if they kill her. Wait to see if these summer sizzlers play out soon.